Yeah, I couldn't wait. We're at episode 10 of Odd Taxi, and no, I could not wait. I'm so sorry. But after last episode with Tanaka firing things, Dobu and Odokawa taking care of business, or thinking that he's going to take care of business on his own and bring down Dobu and all them, and then breaking out Eiji and rescuing him and leaving Dobu to basically be fine. Dobu is okay. Dobu can take care of himself. Yano doesn't know about all this yet, so that's going to be interesting. But the mysteries keep mysterying. Things are getting deeper. Goriki is trying to dig into more with Odokawa's backstory, and it is just everything is opening up and it's all starting to ramp up, and we only have 10, 11, 12. We have 4 episodes left. So I feel, of course, there's like a movie in the audio dramas, so you know how that goes, but we're getting to the final arc, and I feel like we needed a rule of 9 in Odd Taxi's case, because last week was crazy, absolutely crazy. So here we are. But yeah, but I don't have any comments to talk about because I'm watching ahead. So sorry, not sorry. Instead, I do want to take this time to thank our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. Honestly, to thank everybody on Patreon, because everybody's been super calm, super chill, but also very supportive with watching this series along with me and not spoiling, and I really appreciate that. Same for YouTube. Everybody's been awesome. So if you support me on YouTube, if you comment on the videos just saying like, hey, good job, or I love this series, or whatever, or if you like and subscribe to the channel, love that. But also, if you are able to, those on Patreon that support me, y'all are real ones. Y'all are amazing, and I really appreciate all the support. So our philanthropy tier, they get a shout out in my videos. So I want to give a shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, to Bisa, to Alyssa, as well as Dana, as well as Damage3245, Devorin, Daniel, Danger Zone, Destiny Marie, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly, Turnip, L, Freya, Lyndon, Liam Posel, Murphew, as well as Willie Morris, Mochi Kun, as well as Sunspots, Shimoyama, Translucent Men, and Dawood Knight. Thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. But yeah, we're gonna dive right into it today because that's all I know to do. But I don't know. There's been so much set up in this last episode, and I'm like, okay, we still have a lot of questions, not a lot of answers. What are we gonna do now? So I'm really curious to see what Yano's response to a lot of this is, because we didn't get a lot with Yano last episode, and he was sorely missed. So, oh yeah, and Kabasawa has teamed up with Dobu. Somehow, where that's gonna lead, I don't know. But anyway, we're gonna dive right into Odd Taxi episode 10, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and I'll see you all on the other side. If you're not careful, this episode could make your head hurt. Oh! Oh! Oh, you can tell we are getting into the final act because Goriki is narrowing down some answers, getting some things, which of course, this series, it does a numerous time this episode, it does a numerous amount of times this episode, the stereotypical, oh, I've asked a question and they're going to give me the answer. You're not going to find out about it until I bring it up later. And I'm like, ah! So yeah, there we are. But man, so Yamamoto's an interesting character. He's pretty weak-willed. But he's pretty weak-willed in terms of how easily he goes along with people, but he's very strong-willed in how much he loves this damn Mystery Kisu band. With him and Amai, I swear, these guys have got these women like they are eating out of the palm of their hands. So, but there's a lot happening in this episode. There's a lot underfoot. There are lots of plans and things that we need to document. So, we need to talk about the plans. We need to talk about the plans that are going on in this, and we need to talk about the mystery over here, because it's not just Mr. Takisu, it's like a bunch of other things too. So, whoa! So this episode's starting out with the train going by, which now I'm curious, because the train going by, we figured out that Amai's place where he's at now has to do Oh, wait, I was like halfway through the episode. But that does bear a point where the train going by with Dobu talking to Odokawa, we now know that that's related to where Amai is, so that's interesting. We're going to get into that. So we start out the episode with Baba and Shibagaki are waiting to see if they made it to the finals of the comedy challenge. They did not. They didn't make it past the semifinals, which is really sad. So instead it's Bonu and Illumination. And they're both like, hey, man, we did. I like it's a panda and a jaguar or a cheetah, panda and cheetah. And they're like, all right. I kind of love that. And there's some people that are looking onto them in horror, like they made it through. That's actually pretty curious. I like that a lot. But yeah, if your name was called, you made it to the final. So it's really sad. I felt really bad for Shibagaki because I feel bad for Baba because I think it was both their dreams, but Shibagaki cares more about it at this point than Baba does because, you know, they both need to commiserate with one another. But after it's over, Baba's like, well, I've got something after this. And he just leaves. And you are left to wonder if Baba is just kind of coping by making himself busy doing other things because I've done that myself. Like if I'm really upset about something not going the way I had planned, I immediately try to compensate by doing something different and making like, well, that's fine. I'll focus on this now and it's okay. It's not okay. You still feel like shit about the thing that didn't go the way you wanted to, but you try to cope with it by starting something else. And I feel like that might be part of Baba's thing is that Baba doesn't see a future in it. So he's trying to ease himself away from Shibagaki and trying to do something new. Whereas Shibagaki, this is what he wants. He wants it so badly. And he's kind of just sad about the fact that they didn't make it. So then the student that's the giraffe, he's like, oh, Nagashima. He's like, you came to watch. This student is like, has the outfit of Mob Psycho and such tenacity. He's like, why didn't you do the joke about the cafe hideaway? And he's like, well, if I was a musician, I would put my hit songs on my best of albums. Now, I think the kid brings up a good point, though. He's like, why didn't you do your best jokes? And my takeaway is that Shibagaki was like, well, we weren't going to do our best jokes in the semifinal. We were going to wait till the final to do those. But the kid brings up a good point. He's like, well, you weren't guaranteed the final, so you should have used them when you had the chance. He brings up a good point, right? Yeah, he's like, that's why you haven't succeeded. Even if it's not what you want, you have to be someone that has a best of album with hits. He's like, well, we didn't get enough time to go over our material either. I mean, Shibagaki he throws out a lot of excuses as to why they didn't make it to the next round. But Nagashima is like, well, clearly Baba is moving on. And he's like, and I thought your popularity with him would get you into the final because Baba's a figure, but it didn't work out. So he's like, I think that, you know, you should team up with me. And he's like, well, you're in my personal space. He's like, and I love he tells the joke about the Shinosaka, and then he has to explain it. And he's like, you're making me explain my jokes. No. And then he's like, no, it's embarrassing. You're splitting up this year if you don't make it, right? Now, where that information has came from, whether or not it's been public knowledge or Baba said it, he could have gotten it from Baba saying it in an interview. He could have gotten it from Shibagaki somewhere. But he's like, you're splitting up if you don't make it. We could make it big together if we teamed up. He's like, you used to read a ton of my letters on your radio show. I can show you the view. Well, he says I can show you for the view from the top. I'm like, have you been watching Haikyuu, kid? And Shibagaki is like, if I team up with a high school student, they're going to think I've finally lost my mind. He's like, well, then what are you going to do after you split up? I like that Nagashima has such faith in Shibagaki and he loves their comedy so much. He's like, I don't want you to quit. He's like, if you're going to quit with Baba, then team up with me. He's like, well, you're loud. He's like, I don't want to be with a kid. You don't bring out my best qualities. He's like, well, if you're splitting up, then team up with me. And he's like, no, if I want to be he's like, besides, if you want to be an entertainer, don't try to ride my flimsy ass coattails. I loved that line because it kind of points to Shibagaki not really having confidence in himself. He's like, look, kid, I'm the last person you want to team up with. And it's so sad. I actually, over the course of this series, I've really come to like Shibagaki a lot. And I feel really bad for his character because he's very passionate and he tries and he's working this job with Imai. And I'm like, it kind of sucks. And then there's this kid who looks up to him and you can tell Shibagaki kind of has the same mindset of like, I helped Baba and look where that went. Like, don't become another Baba, kid. He's like, when I saw you perform your jokes today, I felt Baba-san has lost his motivation for manzai comedy. You should try again with me. And that's kind of the thing, though, is, yeah, Baba's lost all of his interest in the comedy. He's like, he's moved on to a new dream. He's moved on to a new scenario with Rui. He doesn't want anything to do with Shibagaki anymore. And Shibagaki, this is his passion, his dream. And so Nagashima's like, look, I have the same passion as you. Let's do it. I kind of would like that. I would honestly, I think that it would be funny to have the two of them pair up together, because he's shown such disdain for him in the radio show that if they just bounced off of that back and forth, I think it could be really funny. So I kind of hope that Shibagaki does team up with him. I think that Nagashima could give him a renewed sense of his self-worth as a comedian, and they could have some fresh material. So I kind of hope he does it, but who knows where that's going to go, right? So then we go back to Yano. Yano is, I mean, Yano's one of my favorite characters in this whole show. Yano is one of my favorites. Shiraawa jumped up a lot for me this week, but Yano's one of my favorites. I have never encountered such a unique antagonist as a rapping Yakuza, and he does it and nobody bats an eye. Nobody thinks to say anything about it. They're just like, this is normal. This is fine. Like, they don't even question it. I freaking love it. But yeah, but his rapping style with the bear, the polar bear in this episode was very frenetic. Like, there was still a rhythm, but it was like like he's kind of antsy in this opening scene, right? There's a rhythm, but it bounces. He's like, got interesting news from our unlicensed doc. You know the guy. I always, from reading Twittering Birds Never Fly, I love the Yakuza have their own underground doctors. Fun times. Yeah, I hear Dobu showed up in a fancy new ride. Well, he took Kabasawa's car and made Kabasawa drive him to this underground doctor at the clinic, shot in the femoral region right near the thigh. Seems like the culprit's the one who stole his gun. Here's the crazy thing. That is a lie. That is not true, and we found this out last episode. So one of the mysteries is it Little or Big Daimon that shot Dobu? Because the gun was not the same one that Tanaka has, and it wasn't him. So it wasn't Tanaka, so who was it? But that's what Yano thinks, and that's what Dobu thinks. If the boss finds out, Dobu better run. Either way, his points are going down one by one. So Yano does bring up a good point. Regardless of whose gun it was, the fact does remain that Tanaka has Dobu's gun, and if their boss finds out that a gun that's been loaned out to Dobu has been stolen, that's not going to be good, regardless of who ends up with it. Right? After this, his business will be mine. We used to be brothers in arms, fates intertwined. I love that he speaks in poems. So we find out some backstory, which I'm going to put over here. We find out that Dobu and Yano were like mentor and mentee. I kind of love that. I like the poetry of that, which, ties into him rapping. And he's like, 2 flowers blossoming for the boss. He taught me to use people and money, rinse and repeat. Showed compassion to a country kid raised on the streets. I love that. I love the idea that Dobu took in this kid under his wing and taught him all these things. And then Yano was really good at his job. And Dobu kind of like, you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen. And so they both ended up becoming cooks and they had to go their separate ways. I also like the bears just sitting here listening to him like, I have no choice but to do this. I gotta say, this development is pretty sweet. A decade my senior. He had my respect and my affection. Well, tell us like it is, Yano. So they're 10 years apart, Yano and Dobu are. So if Dobu's like 40, Yano's 30. If Dobu's 35, Yano's 25, so on and so forth. But now he's gone soft, a sugar-coated confection. I will say this. I think Yano reads Dobu pretty well. Dobu is, he's eerily likable. Both Yano and Dobu are eerily likable. Except with the situation with Eiji, Yano showed that he's really not somebody to mess with. He seems like he'd be approachable, but he's a porcupine. He's spiny, and he'll stick you as soon as you get close enough, right? Dobu comes across as very aggressive, and he makes very aggressive decisions, but at the heart of it all, he's really not like cold-blooded, you know? So what is Dobu-san worth now? He lacks punch like these candy drops. I'm looking for peppermint, but all I find is sweet. So he's like these the little sweet drops. Little 10 of them. I'm ready for a big explosion. I'm bored. Light me on fire and put me in the hot seat. Sekiguchi, just like Sekiguchi's sitting here listening to him, like being nice, and he doesn't have a choice, but he's just sitting there listening to him. And Yano's like, "Oh yeah, you were sloppy, by the way," and he's just like, "I'm listening to your rap, sir, without complaint." This declaration of war for me. It'll be a scramble for that 1 billion yen spot. Meanwhile, the loser will get to watch his criminal career drop. And then he eats the drop. Oh, God, he's just so good. I love it. He's so smooth. I love Yano. I love Yano for what he is. And he's like, okay, cool, sweet. I love that basically Seguchi goes, neat. So I'll pass on the message. Now, was he filming it the whole time? Because he had like that little iPad up. Was he filming it? Did you look at the Nakaido fan account? Oh, no, he was actually pulling up the Twitter where we had Amai's lottery ticket. Amai is not a great Photoshopper. He's pretty rusty with it, pretty sloppy himself. And Yano's like, what an idiot. Like, who would do that? The 1 billion yen is definitely with Amai. He's like, this is a very famous amateur mistake. Does he think he's sly? We can figure out where we can find the man. And he's like, oh, I'll get on it. Sekiguchi points out a very scary thing with the internet that we need to talk about, and it's kind of terrifying. Meanwhile, Sekiguchi is a great example of him and Yamamoto are polar opposites. Polar bear, polar opposites. But Sekiguchi says like hardly anything, but when he does things and researches things, he like goes all in, whereas Yamamoto does a lot of this. Yamamoto is talk. But then when it comes down to like standing up for himself, he does not do it. And also gets beat up by a llama. So that was fun. So he wants to basically get the dash cam data and all of this. And he's like, things are going great for Mystery Kisu. He's like, you're starting to show your true colors. He's like, oh, well, I wouldn't take it by force. And he's like, is Mystery Kiss that important to you? He's like, well, of course they are. This isn't about the money anymore. It's our dream. So I think it's interesting that Yamamoto, we're going to put him over here. Yamamoto is all in on the Mystery Kiss. It's like, it's something he's dedicated himself to. It's his, like, he wants them to be successful. He's poured all his heart and soul into it. And now it's just like more than just Yano and all that. And he's like, well, too bad. I was rooting for you. He's like, and that's when Odokawa was ballsy this episode. So ballsy. He reveals that he knows about Shiho running the Badger games. And Yamamoto, again, well animated, is like, what? And he's like, and he reveals that Eiji was his friend. He probably helped bail him out. And he's like, he's paid for his mistake already, but what about you? Did you get what you deserved? And I'm like, Odokawa, do you realize you're putting your life at stake? But again, Odokawa's not afraid. And he's like, well, we would apologize. And Odokawa lets him take him out to the middle of nowhere. I'm like, Odokawa, how do you not reckon that this would be a problem? And he's like, well, I'm not going to tell anybody about your evil doings. And once this is over, I'll give you my dash cam data. But he's like, I want you to work for me. Odokawa's turning into a damn boss himself right here in this taxi cab, being like, I want to take down both Dobu and Yano. The crazy thing is, out of all of this, the boss who employs Yano and employs Dobu kind of likes Odokawa. Like, not romantically or anything, no. But he, like, kind of respects Odokawa, and when they have the whole Sauna conversation, which we'll talk about a little later, you could tell the boss is kind of like, respect. Like, I'm like, if Odokawa wanted to become, like, a ringleader, he could surprisingly do well, which is crazy. So, the moment they parked the car out in the middle of nowhere, I was like, does Yamamoto have a weapon? Because they're out in the middle of nowhere where you could kill Odokawa, and he's like, well, I'm protecting it. And he's like, I'm trying to get done with both whoever's behind you and the guy behind me. And he's like, I see. And he's like, well, I've considered the situation as calmly as I can, what we have to gain and what we have to lose. But no matter how I look at it, I can't see a single taxi driver who can beat me. Now, he looked in the rearview mirror, but he had bent down. Yamamoto had, I guess, to take his belt off, because that's when he goes to strangle him. Oh my gosh. Which I'm like, how Odokawa didn't see that coming, I don't know, but thank God Shiraawa shows up and busts the window. She kind of leads to a lot of revelations in this episode without Odokawa realizing it. But damn, I love this woman. I love her. I love that she goes to take out Yamamoto and just kicks the shit out of him. I love it. And Odokawa's like, okay. Like, again, they could be like a power couple if they wanted to. And he's like, why did you even start in the first place? She's like, it's my top 3 things I don't understand how people get into, including hammer throw and stimulants. He's been watching the comedy show from Homo Sapiens a little too much in this. But yeah. And Yamamoto is just, he's kind of pathetic, but I kind of feel sorry for him because he just wants Mystery Kiss to succeed, and he's gotten caught up with Yano, and he probably started working with Yano because he figured it would help Mystery Kiss get an early start and everything, and then it just spiraled from there. And Odokawa is offering him a way to not only get away from Yano, but to keep the band from having a bad reputation. And so I love it. They also leave him out there in the middle of the site, which is crazy. So he talks about how, you know, well, here's our plan. And so he's like, do you think you could forgive me? And he's like, I told you my condition. He's like, to betray Yano. He's like, that's right. And then he's like, well, if I do, will Mystery Kiss be protected? And he's like, well, if things go well, I'm sure she doesn't want to run Badger games anymore. And so he's, what should I do? So here's the overall plan. And we're going to bust this down a little bit. But the big thing is to allow Yano and crew to be caught by the police stealing the 1 billion yen. This is what is told to Yamamoto. So this is what Yamamoto knows. You're going to allow Yano to get caught by the police while you're stealing the money. And he's like, what? Say what now? He's like, that's it. It's easy. Just allow yourself to get caught. And he's like, won't I get arrested? And he's like, well, probably, but tell me you were threatened. And then he's kind of like, well, I mean, because I like that Odokawa says, well, aren't you being threatened? And he's like, well, it could be a problem if they ask why. And Odokawa's like, well, have they got dirt on you? He's like, whatever. He's like, if you won't help me, I'm turning you into the police now. For robbing a bank, running Badger games, doing all of this. And he's like, fine, I'll help. It's the only way to protect Mr. Kisu. So they end up leaving him there at the spot and driving away. And so he's like, you shouldn't do anything dangerous. And he's like, I'm involved. I don't have a choice. So he's like, are you working with Dobu? I like that they kind of talk about Dobu a little bit in this scene together, which is, you know, Odokawa likes her, so it's kind of a sore spot talking about her ex. I've been thinking Dobu might not be such a bad guy. And she's like, yeah, he operates on his own brand of justice. And then he's like, but then I think that this must be some kind of brainwashing. He's like, you still haven't been freed for yours. It's true that he's done bad things, but his dedication to his boss never wavers. She's like, he's been brainwashed as well to work for his boss. And then Odokawa gets jealous and mad. He's like, nope, I've just decided he has to go down. I'm going to punish him after all. She's like, I'm not defending him. I love that Odokawa likes Shiraawa, and he just gets kind of jealous that she's still, you know, talking him up like he's okay. He's like, why did you call me Odokawa? And she's like, well, I forgot to call you Odokawa-san because there's too much that I want to say. I'm like, I really want to ship these two together. I really like Shiraawa and Odokawa together. I really do. I think they're super cute together. He's like, well, it's not like we're texting. How is that possible? You didn't have to break my window. And that's when he realizes something. So when he says, For unrelated reasons, a guy armed with a gun is trying to kill me right now. Like, don't panic. This has nothing to do with what we're doing, but some other guy wants to kill me. Just so we're clear. I love it. And she's like, what? You're really hard-boiled, right? He's like, why did your life suddenly become so hard-boiled? He's like, he's determined my location to an unnatural degree. So then we find out he knew about the phone that was planted in the car, but Tanaka came and got the phone back and replaced it with this transmittable GPS. Wild. That's why he shot the window and broke it. Crazy. That all makes sense now. Why break the window? To plant the GPS and get the phone back. Genius. Genius. So, over here, we have Odokawa has the portable GPS from Tanaka. So, that's going to be used later on. That's going to have a place in this somehow. But here's the thing. The black cat put the phone there to begin with. So we're going to put the Mystery Kiss copy. She planted the phone originally. Now, here's the thing. The body of her supposedly showed up in the river, but we're going to get to that at the end of this, right? It's unnaturally a plain way to harass someone. And then he finds the portable GPS. They're still trying to kill you. And he's like, I'm going to find a way to use this against them. I like that Odokawa has become Batman over the course of this series. So then we go to the Equator Sauna. We have this conversation between Eiji and Odokawa where he says, heading to the sauna, I want to come. He's like, wish I could, but I'm working tonight. Good for you working 2 jobs. We can go once you've paid off your debt. He's like, that'll be years from now. Poor Eiji. At least he's trying to work off his debt. So then we have the sauna with the Yakuza man. He says, was it cold outside? Yeah. He's like, it's already December. And then they're sitting there. He's like, sudden changes in body temperature can be dangerous, so be careful. And Odokawa's like, why is it? Well, the guy says, why is it always so empty here? And Odokawa's like, well, a tough guy with tattoos out for everyone to see. He's like, that was eye-opening, impressive as always, Odokawa. Now, do we think that Odokawa has not figured out that this is the boss? This is Dobu and Yano's boss. He's like, people thought you were the kidnapper in the missing Narima girl high school case. And meanwhile, Odokawa's like, there's no way he's a cop. So what's going on? He's like, but I'm sorry I suspected you. He's like, well, I would never do that. He says, I still think there's a 5% chance you did it. I'm like, I love that. And Odokawa's like, really? So then he says, do you not want money? And he says, no, I don't have money problems. Okay. Which is true. He's had the foundation help him. But he's like, I do have one problem. I don't want more than befits my stature. All I want to do is to be able to repay the people who helped me little by little and do the best of my ability. And so the boss is like, I'm glad to hear that. I don't know if the boss would try to employ Odokawa because he knows that Odokawa's not in it for the money. So his loyalty would be more genuine. I don't know. It's wild. Or if that conversation just got him off the hook with the boss. I don't know. I feel like the boss respects Odokawa, which is wild considering that Yano and Dobu are both associated in this story. Speaking of Yano, we come back to him. Him just moonwalking to the music is the funniest damn thing I've ever seen. And Sekiguchi, he's just sitting there moonwalking. Sekiguchi's like, this is my life now. This is my life. And he's like, we found Mai. He's like, silence, I'm doing my dance, Sekiguchi. But yeah, so this part here was wild. The way that they broke this down. So he tweeted this on November 15th after moving. And you could hear the sound of the train station. So it's either one of 2 train stations that emits that sound. But he responded to a tweet from someone who seems to be his friend. Saying, Christmas gift. He's like, yeah, it takes 50 minutes to get there. I'm like, why'd you put this on Twitter and not in a tweet, my friend, or a DM? Why'd you put this out in public? No. No, no. That's what's scary about the internet. And honestly, the fact that if people aren't careful, they can find where you live and all of that is terrifying. It really, there's a big social media element in this series that is very scary and very real. And I'm like, if people do their homework, they can find stuff out about you that you don't want out there. And it's like, it's very creepy. But yeah, I'm like, am I, my dude, why would you post this in public and not like on a DM? So, he says, returning the tweet he did on moving day, we looked for similar rental properties with a similar wallpaper. Then this one, oh my gosh. It's like there is aspects, and we've talked on social media. People have talked on social media. I watch a lot of like YouTube videos about influencers because I think that I'm never on TikTok, so that's how I find out about things like that. But there's so many that share so much of their lives. It's kind of scary, especially if they have kids. I'm like, that's so scary. I'm like, no. But I actually did something similar to this, which is not to be creepy or anything, but I did have a coworker that suddenly announced that they were moving, and my other coworker and I, we were kind of like, long story short, their life decisions are a little bit questionable. And we were like, but where are they moving to? And we were just like, we weren't meaning anything malicious by it, but we were just like, they said how much they paid for the apartment they were getting and in what location it was. So we just went online, looked up that location and looked up random apartments. We're like, oh, it's probably that one. Which took us 2 seconds. Like, depending on the information someone gives out, you can find out a lot about them just in 2 seconds. And it's kind of scary, honestly. But yeah, the home, they find Rinky Dink Kogane. I don't know how quick it was. And I like that immediately Yano's like, you're kind of creepy. You cyberstalked him excellently. I knew you'd get it done, but I gotta admit. And he's like, it's kind of creepy how you did it. And the bear's like, I was told to do this. He's like, bad blood's brewing, but it's too soon to cause an uproar. Dobu-san underestimates me because he thinks I'm a herbivore. Here's the thing. I don't think Dobu-san underestimates you at all. It's fascinating that Yano thinks Dobu underestimates him. I'm like, no, Dobu knows how tough you are. He's been preaching about it all series. He thinks you're tough and knows what you're going to do. Like, it's fascinating. And now that we're finding out that he's like 10 years younger than Dobu and Dobu took him in, he says, I'll peel back his disguise and stab him with all my spines, seize the big money, and laugh out loud like a porcupine. And that's where we get the animal personification. Libby's like, I can't. He's like a kid, but oh my God. So Yano thinks that they are going to get Amai. They're going to get Amai to get the 1 billion yen and get it before Dobu. Or try to frame Dobu in the process. Somehow, but they're going to get to Dobu before... They think they can get to Amai before Dobu does, right? Meanwhile, under the bridge, next to... It feels like with the train going by, it almost feels like it's suggesting that they are very close to where Amai actually is, which might be the case. So, the thing is... Odokawa is telling Dobu that now he has Yamamoto in the back pocket, which changes the game because Yano does not know this. And so he's like, they're going to act as soon as tomorrow. They'll take Amai to the bank and keep him locked up until the bank gets the billion in cash ready. But here's the thing. When that happens, they're going to get Amai. They're going to hold him hostage. They're going to hold him hostage for 1 week. Meanwhile, Dobu has told the bank employees to tell him when this happens because he's promised them 100 million each from the reward money. Well, at least Dobu's willing to pay up some of it, you know. There you go. So they're supposed to tell him when that happens. He's supposed to be contacted if Amai arrives at the bank. They're going to tell me the time and the date the cash is going to be handed over. And he's like, I'm going to tell you my entire plan. So make sure you drum it into your head, Odokawa. I wondered if Odokawa was filming in this moment, but does he still have the dash cam data? Who knows? He says the 1 billion yen is split into 10 duraluminum cases. So we have the 1 billion, and it's like a pyramid scheme. We have the cases. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have the cases there in a pyramid. So he says, but the bank will hand over one of those. So the bank is going to hand over one of those cases. They'll also hand over 9 filled with fake bills. So this is the only one that's going to be real. These are all counterfeit that are going to be handed over. Okay? So 100 million are going to be in the one case. Yano's will be with Mai during the handoff, and they'll want to confirm that it's real. That's why we're giving them the one case of the real bills. And Yano will want to get out of there as soon as possible so he won't check all 10. That is the first assumption. That is an assumption, my friends. So the bank is going to give Yano, Imai, Yamamoto, and Sakaguchi the one with that. And they are going to be under the assumption that these other cases won't be checked. My thing is, what if Yano's like, no, check the others too? Like, that's a big gamble in itself. Once Yano's crew pack the 100 million real yen, 900 counterfeit and leave, we'll acquire the 900 million. So, meanwhile, in Odokawa's taxi, there's going to be the 900 real mil. Okay. Allegedly. But that's after they live. And he's like, and at that point, you've won. He's like, but isn't it in there, though? They issued a declaration of war. And I'm going to steal the 100 million that they took. And Odokawa's like, wouldn't we be better off with the 900 million and just stop there? And so they talk about the bank. And he's like, you're going to wait in a parking lot. Yano's going to drive right by you. He's like, I'm going to come to that parking lot with the 900 million in my car. And you'll move your taxi and I'll park in your spot. And then I'll get into your taxi. So then he's like, they're going to head to their hideout at the wharf. Along the way, Big Diamond's patrol car will stop them around here at the river. So Dobu is planning for Big Diamond to have a stake in this. So they're planning for Big Diamond to stop Yano. Now, the question is, who had the gun that shot Dobu? Was it Big Diamond or Little Diamond? So the answer to that question could influence whether Big Diamond betrays Dobu and gets... Here's my thing, though. If Big Diamond was going to work for Yano and betray Dobu, I think that Yano would already know that he's the one that shot Dobu. But that's not the case. And he doesn't know. He thinks that Tanaka shot Dobu. So Little Diamond and Big Diamond, neither of them are working with Yano right now. He's like, you're using every service vehicle you have. Yes. And then while he searches their car, he'll find all the counterfeit bills. You're going to drop me nearby and wait here. And then he's like, I'm going to go while they're making a fuss. I'll arrive on the scene and steal Yano's car. And after confirming I have the 100 million, I'll get back to your taxi. And then we'll head back to the parking lot where the car with the 900 million is waiting. Now, Dobu says if we screw up, you'll just be a taxi driver transporting a passenger. So if you screw up, I'm still going to get Yano's car. I'm still going to go back where the 900 million is and go from there. Now, there are lots of things that can go wrong with this plan. There's a lot of things that can go wrong with this plan. One, so their plan is like, here's the bank. Here's the parking lot where the money is going to be. Then they're going to drive over here where Little Diamond is by the wharf. And then Yano's going to be here. Odokawa is going to drop off Dobu, who's going to steal Yano's car, head back with Odokawa back to this car to get the money, and they'll ride off into the sunset. One, while they're way over here, who's to say that somebody can't come and break into this car and steal the 900 million that's sitting there? Nobody's watching it. Nobody's watching it. So what if Odokawa hears this plan and he's like, hey, while I'm taking Yano to get this 100 million, Shiraawa, break into that car and take off with it, and we'll take off with the 900 million. I mean, I don't think Odokawa would do that because he doesn't want to get Shiraawa into danger. But what if Kawasawa shows up to get his car back? What if Tanaka shows up? Nobody's watching the car with the 900 million. Somebody, like, Odokawa gets set up for Maya's going to be with Yano, but Little Diamond could show up and confiscate it. There's a lot that could go wrong with leaving the car with 900 million there. There's a lot that could go wrong. And then while you're over here, what if Little Diamond gets jumped by Sakaguchi and doesn't cause a scene long enough for Dobu to come and steal the car? What if that happens? What if Yamamoto betrays them? What if all this goes? What if Little Diamond shows up and shoots at Dobu while he's trying to steal the car? There is a lot with this plan that can go wrong very quickly. It sounds good on paper, but there's a lot that can go wrong. And Dobu's good at improvising, but I'm like, I don't know. He's like, you won't have anything to worry about. And then he's like, you won't be arrested. That's my plan. I'm calling it Odd Taxi. Roll credits. Right? Roll credits. And so then he says he's going to give the bank. He's like, I like Odokawa's like, is that supposed to be cool or something? He's like, well, odd refers to one of a pair. And without you or me, this plan doesn't work. He's like, I'm going to pay the two bank employees who helped us $100 million each. And then we'll split whatever's left, which would be the 800 million. And Odokawa's like, I don't need the 400 million. I just have my conditions already. I don't want any of your money. And Dobu's like, well, your risk of being arrested isn't zero. He's like, I just want you to do something about Skull Mask. Then my relationship with you will be over. At this point, Odokawa is worried about Tanaka more than anything. And Dobu says that Tanaka's target might be me now, but that's not true. We all know that. And he says he shot him, and he's like, well, that would be ideal. I want to return to my normal life. Normal life, indeed. Yeah. And then he says, oh, one thing. Who is this girl? He says, that's the missing Nerima high school girl. And he says, your boss's daughter. And he says, no, but she's the only one from your dash cam data that matches her description. So Dobu does not think that the girl that was in his taxi is the one. But the thing is, we're led to believe that Odokawa gave a taxi ride to the girl that is the boss's friend's daughter. But we know for a fact that the replacement mystery kiss girl was in his cab. But we haven't seen hide no hair of her in a long time. He's like, you drove her 2 months ago. He's like, I have driven her before. She's the mystery kiss girl. Meanwhile, Goriki shows up at the house where Odokawa grew up in. It's all kind of boarded in. So then there's the whole thing with Goriki at the house and the school. The mystery deepens. The mystery deepens. The mystery deepens. So Yano's going to go after Amai tomorrow. And he's going to confine him at the wharf hideout. And he's like, we'll bring Amai to the bank together at a time and place determined and leave with the cash. He's like, what should I do? They're going to check the contents of just one of the duraluminum cases. As soon as they're finished, tell the bank employees. Let us check another one. Oh! Okay, so Odokawa is adding parts to the plan to make it not go exactly like Dobu wants. I didn't pick up on that in the reaction. Okay, Odokawa to Yamamoto says to check another one. So he's letting Yamamoto know that there's counterfeits there. Now, the little pin is on the table. The only thing I know about the pin at this point is someone was trying to spoil the audio dramas, and I was like, please stop. But they did say that the pin is connected to the audio dramas, so I'll find out what that is later. He's like, will they be giving us counterfeit bills? He's like, yes, it will make Yano's crew freak out. Now, this is the thing, though. This is the thing that Odokawa is doing. He is telling... The question is Yamamoto going to get that they're all real? Or is what Odokawa is telling Yamamoto going to convince Yamamoto that they're all counterfeit and that the one suitcase is not real? Because that would be interesting. Because then if Dobu steals the car, Yano is more likely to be like, what if Yamamoto says they're all counterfeit anyway? And Yano's like, well, then just let them go. And then Dobu gets away with the 100 million that's real. That could be. It could be that by Odokawa telling Yamamoto that some of them are fake, but not all, that Yamamoto is going to assume that they're all fake. And then they just let it go, being like, well, they were all counterfeit anyway, when they weren't. 100 million was still real. That's wild. Maybe. We'll see. As long as you can call the police, they'll arrest Yano for blackmail. And since you're participating in a crime, I doubt you'll get off scot-free, but you'll have protected Mystery Kiss. I love his little fox face looks so cute in that moment. Oh no. He's like, as long as I can protect Mystery Kiss, I'll do my best. So I don't think that Yamamoto is involved in the death of the one black cat. I don't think Yamamoto is involved because that would not be on his agenda of things to do. So here's the thing. Little Diamond calls. We don't know what that conversation is like. What did Odokawa tell him to do? So Little Diamond calls. We don't get to know the phone call. That's so sketchy. So sketchy. So then we see Goriki go to the school. And meanwhile, we see Amai. Odokawa shows up with him. Amai is the stereotypical college bro, just not washing any of the dishes. I'm like, why'd you keep the ramen containers? Those are not reusable. And he's like, I'll be brief. The Yakuza are coming here tomorrow. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. Damn it, Amai. He's like, it sure is, but you can't run. He's like, you're going to have to do, says you're going to have to do your best. He's like, and he explains what's going to be happening. And I love that Amai's like, but the Mystery Kiss CD release date and concert are just in over a week. Amai, this is your life and death scenario. You can wait on the Mystery Kiss conversation. You can wait on it. Oh my God. But yeah, he's like, after imprisoning you, they'll take you to the bank to receive the cash. If you can be patient for 1 week, you and Mystery Kiss will both be free. He's like, I'll do it for Mystery Kiss. And then he reveals that, I only got this money because of you. Which it is kind of, it's funny how all this works with Odokawa. My life will go back to just the way it was before, and I'll keep supporting Mystery Kiss, just like I always have. So then we have all these principals. The 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Where we have Tadashi Oda, Kazuda Fujimoto, Hideo Takamoto, Joji Taga. That one hippo, it's a mustache. For a second, I thought the hippo's nostrils were his eyeballs, and I was like, that's creepy as hell. But no, he has a little tiny mustache that's not in any way problematic. So, yeah, there's a lack of information about his accident. And the armadillo principal says, which I find it funny he's an armadillo because he's putting up armor, seemingly, in this conversation. And he's like, is he seriously ill? And Goriki's like, well, define seriously ill. And he says his accident was, son of a bitch, they don't tell us. Then we find out about the Tokyo Bay body in October has been identified. So the deceased was Nerima city resident Yuki Mitsuya-san, 18 years old. So it was Yuki Mitsuya, all right, who was from Nerima. Okay, we're going to go back in this episode just a hot second. Who was 18. And then it says, yeah, we can't see her whole face because of course we can't. She was a member of Mystery Kiss. Ha. Now here's the thing. It is December when we are now, where we are now. But this Mystery Kiss member, she was in the taxi back in October, which was around the time that Odokawa gave her a ride. But around the time of October, before October even happened and they found the body, and Odokawa gave the taxi ride to her, the Mystery Kiss members started wearing a mask. So the black cat that has been with them is probably not the one that was in the group up until now. The news of her death. It's not her. Yeah, so whoever the body is, it's not her. What are we doing? What is going on? Okay. This series, it's going to be hard to wait till episode 11. It's going to be hard to wait for episode 11, but I'm going to wait until the comments are ready to look at those for the episode that just came out on Patreon and YouTube. So I look forward to seeing your comments. The mystery in this is getting wild. Now we have the black cat mystery. Which black cat is which black cat? We've got that going on. That's interesting. Was there anything in that last scene with Odokawa? Was Odokawa getting food to anybody? He's putting his dishes away. Yeah. My thing is, Mystery Kiss has been performing since October. So now the fans are going to be like, but wait, who's been performing as her if the body belongs to one of the members? Why did they have a double? And did they make Shiho wear the mask alongside the black cat because it would look weird for just one of them to have a mask? Why not make Rui wear the mask? Well, obviously because Rui's the Beyonce. But interesting. So yeah. This plan could go all kinds of wrong. And I think it's going to go all kinds of wrong because we don't even know about Little Diamond's role in this. We don't know if Big Diamond's going to do what he's supposed to do. We don't know about the bank employees. They've just been mentioned. We don't know who they are. We don't know if they're connected in all this. We don't know about if Amai's going to get freaked out and spill the beans or if Yamamoto's going to like betray them. This all could blow up in so many ways. And then on top of it, you have Tanaka out there in the wild with a gun that doesn't care about any of this except wants to kill Odokawa. So, and Goriki's trying to figure all this out. It's all starting to come to a head and build to the climax. And I'm just like, oh my God. There's going to be a big reveal and I cannot wait for it. But I'm so glad y'all ain't spoiling me, and I'm so glad to see what we're going to get out of this next. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm excited to watch the next episode. Hopefully I'll see all the comments before then. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Odd Taxi. Bye.